right. Oninaki conquered. And I don't hear any music in this here credits. But this was a ride. This took quite a bit. Um and you know what? I kind of mentioned this after I finished the demo, but I think my feelings on this game are significantly heightened. That's probably not the word I want to use, but they're much better than when it was at the end of the demo. Because at the end of the demo, like I had just found a way to make my sword user a little bit less laggy. And it wasn't like perfect, but it was good enough for me to start having a great time with the combat. And as the game progresses, it just gets better and better. I become faster. I have more abilities to draw from. Those abilities can get little subsets of buffs and sometimes even apply debuffs upon use. And for the most part, I'd say every ability that I can think of was different and just did different things. Whether it was mobility wise or how it was dealing damage. They all kind of took a unique approach upon itself. And so that was really good. Very, very happy with how this game kind of plays out mechanically. So yeah, that's basically my overall thoughts. I like the game. It's not a perfect game, but it's certainly, I would definitely say it's not an average game. I think it's a better than average. I think it's better than Lost Sphear. Lost Sphear was the pinnacle of average to me, and I do think this is a better entry and a better title for the developer, Tokyo RPG Factory, I believe. This is definitely a step up. Even though I do like more of the turn-based combat, I had fun, and I guess that's important. Story, was it satisfying? Story was I mean, I liked the story, and I will say it was satisfying. Um, but where I guess my issue lies is uh, fleshing out of the story. There were a few things that I can't necessarily think off the top of my head because I just spent 11 hours playing this game today. But um, there were a few instances where a little bit more information could have been told, and a little bit less. We're gonna say padding, but it wasn't padding. Well, it could have been padding, but like towards the end, where I had mentioned that we were doing like side quests for main quests, we could have actually learned more about what was going on there rather than doing those particular things. Did it feel complete? It did feel complete. I was very happy actually with it giving you options at the end. I think that's a very clever thing that I wasn't expecting this game to do, but there were a few times throughout the story where they give you some options, and who knows how they affect the story at large, because you know I haven't played the game multiple times, but it seems like a good approach to me. How was the pacing? Pacing was all right. It slowed down at the end where we fight, gosh, the Night Devil. Forgetting his name already. It's been a long day. Where we fight him and beat him. It started to slow down after that, but it started to pick up again. So that was good. Let me see. Writing, I thought the writing was all right. Nothing to complain about really. I mean, you could definitely say that story-wise, the game does not what's the best way to put this? Because like I want to say that the story of this game is actually pretty good. It's just not done very well, if that makes sense. Like it's not done poorly, but it's not done to the point where like the story, um, it's not. It doesn't reach its full potential is probably what I would like to say, or at least the potential that maybe the story deserves. You know, maybe if you want to go that far. The characters, I thought the characters were pretty interesting for the most part. I mean, Kagachi was all right. A lot of the, you know what? A lot of the earlier characters could have used more fleshing out. I think things started getting crazy a little too fast in the beginning, and they could have slowed that down a little bit and kind of um, explained more about the Watchers and why that organization is kind of coming apart at the seams. For gameplay and mechanics, I don't have very much written down here because, you know, thought I was going to spend 2 days on this, but whatever. What gameplay elements stand out? You can't see what stats are inside socketed weapons. This was kind of obnoxious for me, but eventually, you know, I started getting a bunch of stuff, so it didn't become much of an issue, but it should still be something that you should be able to see. Um, uh, I have here the Alchemist may fix this issue. The Alchemist, as far as I'm aware, does not fix that issue. Daemons seem to fall behind quickly with little incentive to try and use them. They start with no soul stones and the lowest quality weapon. A shop has not been presented itself in the game 3 hours in, yet that helps with this. And the shop does not help with that at all. And I think that is my biggest fault with this game is it gives you options to branch out and do other things, but it doesn't encourage you to do that by letting those options, I guess, work out. Uh, because it's kind of like playing an RPG and getting to level 60, and then you get a new character and he's level 1. Kind of like that. It's a lot faster paced in this game. You can catch them up a lot faster, but the core concept is the same. For combat, within 3 hours of the game, I have 3 separate playstyles between 3 daemons. At the end of the game, I had what, like 9 daemons or something like that. They all seemed to play completely different. They did different things. They had different skills. They had different skill trees. It was just great. They had different weapons, and the weapons handled differently. Their secondary skills were more or less similar across the majority of them, but there were a few unique ones, like the barrier or the block guy. You know, there was a lot some unique ones in there. Um, Animation canceling and end lag are a big detractor for combat. I'm going to say that once you progress further than approximately 3 hours into this game, that stops becoming an issue. Like more and more of the game opens up, as you know, games should, and the combat just becomes pretty fast paced. I mean, at least with the sword, I should say. You could see me, I'm dashing in and out. I'm throwing a projectile to reduce their defense. I'm charging up my big swing and I'm going in for the 12k damage. You know, it was great. Dungeon wise, none of the dungeons really stood out to me. In fact, I would say a lot of the dungeons were kind of uninspired in the sense of nothing interesting happens in any of the dungeons except for the dungeon that had the murals. But for the most part, none of the dungeons were aside from that one, like important to the story or whatever. And this might be unfair to say, but it was just kind of go to this dungeon and complete the objective that's there. And the dungeon itself didn't really have any influence over what was going on there. It just so happened to be the locale that you were in. And so I definitely do appreciate when games make the locales part of what's going on rather than just the place that you go, if that makes any sense. Cardinal sins. There are no cardinal sins that I can think of. I think this game handled itself pretty well. Miscellaneous for music. No music in regular combat leaves a lot to be desired. I think that was a missed opportunity there. Maybe I just couldn't hear it. I don't know. I tried listening to some of the VODs and I didn't. I couldn't hear it, but I'm kind of going deaf, so who knows. Um, but I definitely think that would help with the small things about this game, and I'll kind of get to that in a quick second here. I think the music in general is actually pretty solid. I don't really have any issues with the music that I heard. The voice acting was all in Japanese, so I have no idea what they were saying. But I really like the Japanese language, and so I liked everything that I heard. The game is not fully voice acted, which is a shame, but that's fine. Um, yeah, it's fine. I pretty much the only voice acted sections were the memories, the Damon memories, which I was fine with. Graphics, I think the graphics look pretty good. They're stylized, and I don't really have any complaints about them. Replay value, hmm. Starting a game using save data from a completed game unlocks new areas to explore. I don't know if there's replay value in this game aside from choosing the different options, but I think the most important options are at the end, and there's a save point right before the end, so you can just do those. Um, and if the developer is watching, so I like the game. I definitely don't think it's it's anywhere near as average of a game as a lot of the reviews had stated it is. I actually think there's great mechanics in this game, and the combat is actually fun. Um, if you were to play this game for an hour, then yes, it is like definitively the most average and dull game that you could possibly go through. But most games out there, they don't start off with a bang and make you this super powerful, awesome person at the very beginning of the game. They start you off slow. I mean, all games basically do that. Um, and so I think this game really did ramp up its its usefulness at a good rate. I think where this game falters is the little things. And those little things are little, but they're really noticeable. Like no music in regular combat. It's something that you don't notice when it's like if you're playing an RPG, okay? You go into your random battle, there's music. You know, a lot of the times, you're not going to pay attention to the music itself, but you're happy it's there. So when there's no music in that, then you start to notice that something's missing. There's a rhythm or a beat that's missing from what you're used to. And for the most part, I think it's a negative thing. Like there should have been, if not a specific battle music, then just a theme for either each individual area or just for all the areas, a 5 minute track or something like that. Just some music to play in the background. Um, and then some of the some of the combat and mechanic decisions, like canceling and things like that, hiding that behind upgrades, that can definitely feel like a detriment to the overall enjoyment of the game. Because in there's a term in Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop games called feat taxes, and feat taxes are basically things that you need to get on all characters or maybe all builds for that specific class, regardless of what you're doing, because they're just either too good not to take or they're required to move on to other places. And those particular uh, skill point thingies felt like taxes, things that you need to take in order for your character to become fun and interesting and start to be good. And those things should have been rewarded at the start because it would have made the combat much more enjoyable at the very beginning and less unwieldy because going in for a slash at the end or with one of your skills and being stuck there for like half a second while the enemy's like charging up their swing or whatever, it kind of sucks to have that happen to you when the game gives you the option to cancel out of it with a skill point. So there's that. But yeah, overall, to reiterate, I like the game. I think it's definitely above average on this one. Super solid game, very fun game, good game, and the story, story throws you for a loop or two. So there's that. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for my thoughts on this. The next thing I'm gonna move on to is I'm gonna do the secondary option where I do something else. So that's probably going to be like a secondary YouTube video. But so yeah, yeah, and stuff. So defend the cycle. So, all right, you have the strength to follow your convictions until the bitter end. Can't wait to see the darkness that you give birth to. Keep watch over humanity until the Oni is reborn, Soju. So, what is it that I believe? Really? That's the end? Well, that's what I anticipated the end to be, but that's a little anticlimactic. Yeah, so guess I'm gonna say thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back Monday, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific for some more video games. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you then. Peace.